Hello everyone, welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. Alright, so I have an interesting article. I'll link it for you down below in the description. It is coming from RCR Wireless. The headline here is EchoStar accuses T-Mobile of anti-competitive acquisitions. So right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you guys that I kind of agree with EchoStar here, or aka Dish Network, whatever you want to call them. I think that they have a point here. Now, it's not to say that T-Mobile is completely in the wrong here. Let me ask you a question, and then we'll come back to the story here, and we'll make this quick. Is T-Mobile really wrong for wanting to better their network? If they have the ability, if they are financially fit to make an offer to a company to buy them, to use their spectrum to better their network, to reach more customers that will benefit the company as far as profits go and enhance their ability to achieve their goal on reaching more customers, giving access to a whole new realm of people that were not able to get it before because of the acquisitions that they uphold, that they're able to achieve with the blessing of the FCC. Are they bad for wanting to do that? If they're financially fit and there's no competitors coming in and making offers to buy those same, to move in on those same inquiries that they're moving in on, that they're setting up deals with, how are they really wrong? Like, I don't think they're wrong for wanting to do it, right? If, like, with that, the Ultra Mobile and the Mint Mobile deal, like, T-Mobile made that deal with them. I didn't hear anything about at&t offering, making an offer. I didn't hear about Verizon making an offer on that. And I certainly didn't hear about Dish Network, aka EchoStar, making an offer on that. So this was T-Mobile's idea. They were able to work out a deal. Both companies were satisfied with that deal. And the FCC said, sure, why not? Now, when you look at it like that, they're not wrong. I don't think so. Let me know what you guys think. If there's no competition coming in, nobody else is stepping up and saying, I want it, then they have their chance to buy that spectrum. They don't want it. They don't need it, whatever it is. You can't blame T-Mobile for trying to do something to betterify their their network, right? To make it better. But at the same time, EchoStar has a valid point here. This is an anti-competitive acquisition, and it's anti-competitive in a way that, these MVNOs were around. It was basically a great gift to have these options. We got spoiled with them, to be honest. At least I did. When we got sick of T-Mobile, we can go to the competition. When we got sick of AT&T, we can go to the competition. Same thing for Verizon, and the same thing was for Sprint. When we were sick of Sprint because we didn't like the way that they handled business, which they didn't have very good customer service. It was actually very bad, based on my experience. But if I wanted to use Sprint's network, I would have went to Red Pocket, or I would have went to another competitor that offered the service for far less money, and I wouldn't have had to deal with Sprint's customer service. Bingo, problem solved, right? So that was good. But now, if the FCC continues to allow companies like T-Mobile to come in and buy all those competitors, we're basically going to be back to square one, where I have no choice but to use T-Mobile if I want to use T-Mobile's network. And it's not good for competition. It's not going to be a good thing for the wireless industry. Eventually, this will be a problem. And I don't know where the line will be drawn. So I kind of agree with EchoStar here. There's a valid purpose behind this argument. Now, it is a selfish argument simply to just, EchoStar is only doing this because they're looking after themselves. All right. So 100%, this is pure selfishness. But at the same time, someone has to speak up. And I'm glad somebody's doing it. And it happens to be EchoStar, and they've been doing it for a while. Now, whether or not the FCC will finally start to listen and take a look at all these acquisitions and say this is not a good thing is beyond me. I don't know if that was ever going to happen. because they may be looking at it the same way I just said earlier. Well, who's the competitor? Who's coming in and saying that they want to buy this? T-Mobile's raising a valid point here. We're trying to buy the spectrum to build out the network and make it stronger. We're trying to reach more customers that we couldn't reach before. And it's all valid reasons. When we really think about it, it's all valid reasons. In between this, they're making promises about how they're going to create jobs, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we don't really trust T-Mobile with that. We know a lot of that's just a lie. They'll say anything to get the deal signed. And the FCC, maybe just be signing with a blindfold around them most of the time, not really thinking it through. They're pushing it along and they're believing T-Mobile's lies. And that's a problem too, right? That's another problem in itself. So there's the anti-competitiveness. Then there's the lies and broken promises that are going to come along, which can honestly be very damaging, because if T-Mobile is saying they're going to hire people and they do the exact opposite, it could create more problems, right? These mergers could become like Sprint, where, people lose jobs and it's bad for everybody overall. So that's a completely another way to look at this. Like, besides the anti-competitiveness, there's that problem, that very big problem, because of the lies that the FCC is failing to recognize. So there's that as well. But I don't know. So what's the solution here, right? What is EchoStar really asking? Let's move this along. So obviously, here's what's going on. Every year, the Federal Communications Commission asks for input on the state of competition in the domestic communications market to help inform a report to Congress. So they're saying this year, Echo, which is, of course, now Dish Wireless, took the opportunity to accuse T-Mobile of a series of anti-competitive acquisitions and actions, as well as to ask the FCC to impose and enforce a stricter spectrum screen in order to give players other than the three national incumbent wireless operators like EchoStar a better chance to compete. They did make a statement here. I'll go through that quickly. Excessive spectrum accumulation by incumbent carriers is a significant factor in accounting for the lack of competition in the mobile wireless market, and the rampant spectrum accumulation by the incumbents has increased market concentration to the detriment of consumers. So this is what EchoStar says. They're saying, listen, we build out this great network. We work really hard to do it, but we cannot simply cannot compete with the likes of the big three carriers. We simply can't do it. They have too much spectrum. Every acquisition that T-Mobile gets them 10 steps further ahead of everybody else. This is the argument. They're slaughtering the competition. There's no way to compete, is what EchoStar is saying. Now there's that truth. There's validity in that, right? T-Mobile has gotten a giant leap. They got a giant leap the second they bought Sprint. They were miles ahead of everybody as far as getting their 5G out there. Whether or not you want to call it real 5G, it's whether or not you want to say it's good, that's beyond the discussion here. What we're saying is they got ahead of everybody. They got their hands on that spectrum, and they were able to do things that other carriers couldn't do from day one because of that. And every company they buy gets them another step further to being able to reach more clients, to getting a stronger network in areas that they were weak in. If they go ahead and get their hands on the spectrum from US Cellular, that's going to be another dominating selling point for T-Mobile, how they're able to reach even more customers in their weakest areas in all these smaller rural communities that will basically give them a giant leap over companies like Dish Network. And it won't cost them, it'll cost them a lot of money, but it's cheaper to do it this way and much faster, nonetheless, much quicker to be able to do it the way that they're looking at doing it. So this is Dish's argument here. This is basically what they're trying to say. So what are they proposing? They basically say that they prefer remedies for the FCC to take to address the competitive landscape, which is a spectrum screen of 25% and a low-band specific spectrum screen of 25%, which it said would be a step toward the goal of maintaining 4 facilities-based national carriers, allowing higher power fixed 5G broadband service and 500 megahertz of the 12 gigahertz band, and authorizing use of higher power levels in the CBRS band. So basically, that's what Dish is saying in a nutshell. Again, what we talked about here, who's right, who's wrong? I think they both have valid excuses for what the argument is. I think T-Mobile has the right, if they are in a position to buy companies that want to merge, that want to sell. I think they should be allowed to do it, right? When we look at it from that perspective. But then at the same time, it's a dangerous road that we're walking down by allowing them to come in and purchase every company. There might have to be some kind of cap here for the benefit of wireless competition so that there's not a monopoly, so that we don't have one or two or three carriers, because eventually, who knows what's going to happen? If the damage is that great, it could knock, could hurt a company like AT&T, who's not building as quick, and is maybe not as competitive with their plans right now as well. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. AT&T is a very strong network, and many will argue it's a much stronger network. I mean, personally, I think it's a more reliable network. So for me, I think they're maybe the better choice in most cases. In most cases, not all, right? But T-Mobile is getting stronger now, and because of all these acquisitions, they're able to get more aggressive, right? So I don't know. Personally, I'm kind of up in the air, but I'm glad that EchoStar raised the bar here, and it's not like they haven't been doing this for a while, but I think that they're being persistent with it, and I think it does raise a valid question here as to whether or not the FCC is ever going to say no to T-Mobile. Like, when is it going to be enough? And honestly, I think at some point they have to say no. They have to say no. They have to say, listen, we understand you're going to have to figure out another way. You're going to have to build it out another way. You're going to have to do things the hard way. You can't just buy another company and get access to their spectrum while everyone else is building slowly and spending all this money and wasting all this time. You're going to have to do that too. Like, that's it. That's how the competition's going to go. You're going to have to work really, really hard, just like everybody else. And that's it. I mean, that's really the only way to solve this. But again, we'll see what happens. As always, thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.